this tutorial, we'll talk about how to effectively frame and compose your camera shots to give your next video projects that professionally made look and feel. And for teacher broadcasters like me, I'll also share to you how to indicate the rule of thirds framing as part of your technical instructions for your sequences in your scripts. All that and more, so stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Z here of Let's Make Videos, weekly episodes where it's all about leveling up our video making skills despite the limited resources. From budget gears, filming techniques, and video editing tutorials, both mobile, laptop, and on desktop. So if you are into the same creative passion, consider subscribing and let's learn how to create better videos together. So what is the rule of thirds? The rule of thirds is not really a rule, but more of line guides, spaces, and focal points that you can quickly use to professionally frame and compose your shots, scenes, and sequences. Not only with your camera lens, but also during editing if necessary to digitally reposition or reframe your subject. And this is by using the rule of thirds grid that looks like this. We're talking head videos and lesson videos with a teacher in the frame talking to the viewers, which is technically the camera lens. Left or right framing. The basic ideas are to position the human subject along one of these vertical lines, either along the left vertical line or the vertical line at the right. But there is a rule of thumb that strictly comes with this, and that is whenever the person's subject is framed left or right and the subject is angled or will be slightly facing one side, always make sure that the subject is angled or facing inward towards the opposite side or direction. Being slightly angled is not always necessary since the subject can just simply stand or sit facing straight towards the camera, just like what I'm doing right now. But just in case the subject is made to pose in this manner, which is slightly angled while positioned on either side of the frame, this rule of thumb applies because this other side or direction is what we call lead room, the lead room. The lead room simply implies you direct the viewer's attention towards this direction. Setting up the lead room is not only for static or non-moving talking head subjects to where the presentation, graphics, pop-up text, or whatever the subject is presenting are placed, which is why naturally the person's subject should be facing towards that direction. But it is required for moving subjects as well, wherein the lead room is always in front of the subject so that the viewers will be unconsciously directed towards that same direction as well, for us to see what is going on in front of the subject, what the subject is about to do, or anticipate what is coming into the frame from up front. Just imagine if the subject is instead angled outward, which makes the subject seem like looking somewhere outside the frame, while the presentation is at the other side with the subject's back turned against it. Not only the subject looks awkward in the sequence, but it also tends to draw our attention as viewers away from the presentation. We will get the same look and feel, which is awkwardness, if the subject is moving towards one direction with the empty or unused space in the frame behind the subject, and the edge of the frame smack next to the subject's face. The second basic idea is to use the top horizontal line of the grid and the top two focal points, which I personally call anchor points, to set up the proper headroom for the subject. Headroom. Headroom is either the proper distance between the top of the subject's head and the top edge of the frame, or the proper way to crop the top of the head of the subject if a bit of cropping is unavoidable. Here are two sample clips with bad headroom framing. This one we have the subject too low or dwarfed down, while in this shot, the upper portion of the subject's head is cropped too much. To avoid these mistakes, if the subject is centered frame, use the top horizontal line to set up the subject's headroom. Position the subject's eyes either along this line or slightly above it. But if the subject is left frame or right frame, place one of the anchor points somewhere at the middle of the subject's head or face. In some cases, especially for medium close-up and close-up shot sizes, drop the anchor point on one of the subject's eyes. Speaking of headroom, one quick way to properly set up headrooms is by applying the appropriate camera shot sizes. If you use one of the standard camera shot sizes in framing the subject, the headroom is automatically set or will follow correctly inside the frame. To learn about the basic camera shot sizes for beginners, especially if you're making teacher-made lesson videos, watch this other video that covers everything you will need to know to help you out with your next project. I'll leave a link to that video in the card up there and in the description box below. Minimize center framing. The rule of thirds grid is basically composed of two vertical lines and two horizontal lines. And everything in the frame with the grid lines are part of the rule of thirds framing. So that includes these four intersecting points, which I already mentioned are called focal points, as well as these open spaces vertically and horizontally. So technically, we can of course use the center framing. However, it is advised by the professionals in the business that center framing is overly used and shows less creativity in terms of of professional composition. The more you see center framing in a video shows the lack of composition knowledge in the project. So only use center framing intentionally, and that is when the subject is saying something that needs to be emphasized. All the attention of the viewers are focused towards the subject and to what he is saying, with nothing else popping up on his left or right that will only cause unnecessary distraction. Note, fellow lesson video creators and developers, never use center frame if your intention is to pop up or display something on one side but nothing on the other. Never ever do that. If you will need to use center framing while at the same time display something on the screen together with the subject, either make sure that you will be using both sides, the left and right, or you will place the asset at the middle of the lower thirds so that it will be balanced. By the way, although this tutorial is focused mainly in framing talking head subjects, all the concepts and ideas also applies to non-human subjects, vertically oriented subjects, horizontally oriented. The techniques are all the same: buildings, bridges, or a beautiful landscape. In case these are relevant to your discussion, we'll talk more about how to apply the rule of thirds for framing sceneries and structures in a different video, but for now, let's focus on framing talking head video projects to keep this episode as short as possible. Power tip: framing with a green screen. Here's a power tip in framing to speed up your filming. If you will be using a green screen as your background with the intention to chroma key it out during editing, use center framing all throughout and leave the actual cropping and the left or right framing to the video editor during post-production. Not only you will save time in filming as well as cut down the pressure of framing your subject left or right each time, but you will also have a better chance of avoiding the subject's arms getting cut off out of the frame when he extends out his arm. Just be aware though to which direction the subject should be facing, which is supposedly the lead room for the sequence being filmed. Now that you have a rich idea on how to use and apply the rule of thirds grid to professionally frame and compose your shots and sequences, let's have a quick talk about how you should indicate the specific frames you intend for each sequence in your script as part of your technical instructions under the video column of the script. So that after you, the scriptwriter, in the absence of storyboards, the script will tell the director how exactly he needs to frame the subject in each and every sequence during the filming or production stage. And then after that, in the case of using green screen for the background that will be chroma keyed out during post-production, the script will serve as a guide as well for the video editor who will do the cropping and repositioning of the subject in the frame. In this clip, this is for example the introduction part of your script. The subject is right frame and the shot size used is medium shot. On your script, under the video column, type in RF for right frame, followed by a dash, then add MS for medium shot. In this next sample clip, the subject is left frame. The shot size is medium full shot, for example. On the script and always under the video column, type LF for left frame, dash MFS for medium full shot. This time, the subject is center frame because for this sequence, we want complete attention of the viewers on the subject and to what he is saying. And the shot size designed for this sequence, for example, is medium close-up. So we're gonna type CF for center frame and MCU for medium close-up. Check out this video to learn more about how to write a script for talking head or teacher-made lesson videos using the two-column format for audio and video, which is the standard script format for televised lesson video episodes. If you found any value from this video for your purpose, please don't forget to bless me with a simple thumbs up, just a small action from you, but a big inspiration and motivation to me. This is Z. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you again in the next one and continue being creative.